stand by. Countdown sequence. Welcome to.
Iration with Fallen. Q103, the rhythm of the islands. Iration actually has some Big Island roots, and this guy, well, his roots run so deep on Big Island. At this point, we should call you a tree. It's RJ Kaneao.
I'm glad to be a co-tree.
You know, I mean, and it does. It takes that strength to make it in the music industry, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually used to work in a music store, and some of the boys from Iration used to come in as kids and play their ukulele, and then I actually played a gig with them and go, hey, do you remember me? And I'm like, no. And then they're like, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm old. Thank you.
Wow. I know. It does feel kind of weird when younger guys come up. It's like, man, I know you.
And calling me uncle, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, what does it take? I mean, you go from like a kid in the industry to uncle, and then it's like, what does it take to maintain sanity at that point? Like, oh, I'm old.
I don't know. I'm entering like a new part of the industry, so even though I'm a little older, I still, kind of like the new kid on the block. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you. Ready? When you went and sat down for the first time and said, okay, this one is serious, and two, I want to record something. How did you go from just playing music to saying, for the very first time, I'm going to step up and record this? How hard was that process?
It was hard. As I look back, I started off with a little Porta Studio cassette-based 4-track. And that, I can see now, was just the learning curve into what I was about to do. I went from that into digital recording on standalone units. And then after I did my first album with Grammy winner Charles Brotman, it kind of opened my eyes to software-based. And my big thing is before you release something, get your chops going. You gotta really get in there and listen and be really honest with yourself of what you're hearing.
That's tough when you got to be honest with yourself. It's the humility thing of it all. Like, if you can be honest with yourself and totally put yourself in check, and you pretty much got to be brutal. Wow. Is it hard? Like, some days when you're just like being, honest with yourself and going, man, I got to lighten up. I'm being mean on myself. I'm obsessing.
Yeah, but for the most part, if you want to put out a good product or you want to put out a good song, you need to
put in the work, huh?
Yeah, you got to put in the work. You got to, like, I have a lot of guys come to me and they tell me, oh, listen to this. And I'll have to tell them straight, like, this is just a stepping stone on putting out what you really need to put out. And, a lot of people finally wake up and they go, okay, we'll take this to a real studio or something like that. And that's the big thing with now, where people can buy their own gear, and, everything is a much more reachable and more economy-wise. You can afford to, buy a Mac or buy a PC and then get a program to try and record your things. And for the most part, I'm in full support of that. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's why, you're going to spend the money on that. And I'm looking probably at about $1,000 to get that going, when you could get your music going, pay someone $1,000 and have it done professionally at first.
Yeah.
And then let the money trickle in from there. Yeah. And then I would definitely recommend to just learn it and just don't jump into it right away. Because a lot of people overcompensate for stuff when they first start recording, and you can hear it in the recordings. I can hear it in my old recordings.
Wow.
From those first Met You stuff that, even the jingles I did for Q103 back in the day, compared to what I
think I can do now is two different things.
Well, I tell you what, I want to stop you right there, and we'll come back with one more segment. Let's talk about what the future is like now that you've reached this plateau.
Okay.
All right. We'll come back with more RJ and the ins and outs of the recording.
Want to see more Q103?
Check out our Q-Blog on our website.
For extended artist interviews, behind-the-scenes videos, and more. Log on to Q103Maui.com